Okay, so let's do something else now. We did the 3 columns, we did the video. Now let's go to interactive, and they have a whole bunch of things here. They have these hover boxes, which, to be honest with you, I've never used. They have light boxes, which I cannot understand for the life of me why somebody would want to have a light box on their home page. But then they have these things called full slideshows, which are actually quite nice. So let's put one of those in here. Now, this has 3 slides. I don't want 3 slides, I only want 1, so I'm going to delete that one. So now I'm on the first slide, and let's get rid of all of this stuff that they have, because we're going to be putting in our own stuff. And let's go to the second one. Oops. And same thing. Let's delete their stuff and put in, because we're going to be putting in our stuff. So it says change slide background, image. So I go to site files and vectors, and I have a whole bunch of stuff here. As you can see, I already prepared 2 backgrounds. So I'm going to just put this background here, because what I thought I would do is, while I'm showing you how to use the lightbox, the slideshow, I also want to show you how to make a very simple little animation in Wix with vectors. So what happens is that, let's go here, image, my image uploads, and I prepared a whole bunch of PNG files. Like I have all of these here in different colors and in different transparencies, for example. Then if you go to the cats folder, again, these are all vectors that have been turned into PNGs so that we can upload them to Wix, because we can't upload vectors to Wix. And then we have a whole bunch of bubbles here, which again, I did all of this in Photopea, just colorized them in different colors, and I also have some in black and white. You know, like I showed you, it doesn't take a very long time to do it, so there's no reason why you shouldn't make a whole bunch of alternatives. And it's usually a very, very good idea to actually have a lot of alternatives already uploaded, because then you don't have to keep going back and changing something and uploading again. Just make a whole bunch of different color variations and transparency variations and things like that, so that you actually have quite a bit of stuff to work with. Now, I'm going to go to slide 2 now. Oops, why can't I select slide 2? Okay, and I'm going to change the slide background again. Go here again and pick the other color for the other background. And as you can see, there's a very slight gradient on these, which again I made in Photopea. Very easy to do. You just add a second layer, and then on that layer you just use your the gradient tool. You hold down your shift key so that it's actually straight, and then you just put down your gradient, and then you save it as a PNG. Easy peasy. Now let's go back to slide 1, and I already prepared a few things, because before I make these tutorial videos for you, I actually go through some trial runs to make sure that everything is okay. So I already have some stuff in the library. So I have all of these here, which these are these 3 funny cloud shapes, which, like I said, these were vectors, EPS files, which I opened in Photopea, changed the colors, changed the transparencies, and then uploaded to Wix. So here they are. I'm going to put them like this, and each of these has an animation. So it expands in, which means it gets bigger as it appears, and it comes in very quickly, at like a third of a second, and the duration is only 1 second, and it comes in hard, and it only gets animated the very first time that the page is open, so that it doesn't keep animating over and over again. And the others are exactly like that as well. So now let's go to my image uploads, to the cats, and I have this very nasty looking character here, which I'm just going to attach to the slide. I'm going to crop it a bit. Again, this was a vector which I found on FreePic and which I opened in Photopea, played around, well, first I resized it, then I played around with the hue saturation, changed a few things, and then I exported it as a PNG. And you know how to do all of that because I made a separate video about that. So now I want to give this an animation as well. I want it to float in, but I don't want it to float in from the right. I want it to float in from the bottom, and the delay is just going to be 0.6, so just the double of the background, and the duration is actually going to be quite short because I want this to just sort of pop out. Okay, so I'm going to go back to the library where I had, let me just put these, I was a bit lazy, prepared things ahead of time, so I'm going to just copy these and then paste them here. So there are two talk bubbles here. The cat is saying two different things. Again, this vector image here is a speech bubble that I got from FreePic. I can in fact show you where I got it from. It should be somewhere either on the first page or the second page. I didn't look very far. I guess maybe I did go to the third page. It's this. It's right here. It's in fact it's this one. Well, if I go over it, I get this black thing, but it's this one right here. So here, this one. So I just downloaded that, opened it in Photopea, made the adjustments, and then imported it to here, where I actually rotated it. This is rotated, so obviously, as you know, there's one corner, this one right here, where if you hold down the shift key, you can rotate it in exact increments if you want to. I don't want to do that right now. I am going to leave it as it is. And then I have these text things, which I kind of put a little bit outside to make it look a bit more interesting. So these have animations as well. They fly in, and what I did here, the delay is 2.5 seconds, which is too much actually. Let me make that 2. So this one flies in from the right, so it's going to come like this. And this one is going to fly in from the left, so it's going to come from here. And again, the delay should be 2 seconds. Now, before we preview this, I'm just going to go to the settings here and disable autoplay. I don't like autoplay anyway, but with something like this where people have to read and stuff like that, if you want to use autoplay, this would actually have to be quite long. It would have to be maybe like 7-8 seconds at least, but I don't want autoplay anyway. So there's more stuff here that I'm going to talk about in just a little bit, but for now let's just disable the autoplay and let's give this a preview. So that's it. It's a very simple, short little animation. Now let's go to the second slide. Again, I'm going to add an image, go to the vectors, and I had a green one here. So attach it to the slide, crop it a bit, There's too much on the top and the bottom. Now I'm going to scale it up because I want this nice and big. Just one. So now before we continue, actually, let's look at some of the settings of the slideshow, because right now you can't see anything, can you? There are arrows here and you have no idea that they're even here. And there are slide buttons and all kinds of things. So the navigation arrows are white, and this is a very light background, so I'm actually going to make these black. The slide buttons can be white, and the selected button is white. Yeah, it's white, but I'm just going to make that 100%. And then I'm going to go, hold on, I have to go to the layout. Now, show the navigation arrows, yes, they can be a bit bigger, I think. Show the slide buttons, yes. They're tiny. There's no reason for them to be this small. I want them nice and big so that people can see them. And so now you can actually see what's going on. So now, just going to, again, go to image, my image uploads, and go to cats. And there's a whole bunch of cats that I'm going to select here. I'm holding down the control key so that I can get more than one, because I want these three. So now, this one is enormous. It needs to become much, much smaller. So it just said attach to slide, so it's now attached to the slide. This to the right. This little guy can go there for now. And this is already attached to the slide. And this can actually become even bigger, because this is sort of like the main cat. And then this one can become smaller and sort of go in here, and even smaller. Now there's something that you're noticing probably. These cats are transparent. They're not solid, because look, I can see one cat behind the other one. And you have to do that while you're in Photopea. You can't make things transparent. You can't make images transparent once you bring them into Wix. You can do a lot of things in Wix with images. You can tint them, you can crop them, you can transform them, lots of things you can do really, but making an image transparent or less opaque isn't something that you can do in Wix. So all of that needs to get taken care of in Photopea, and what you basically do is very simple. I still have this here, so you have the layer opacity here, and you just basically make this less or more transparent. So this would be completely opaque. The way that I made them was 80%, and I usually like to actually type in the numbers by hand, and then you just export it as a PNG with the transparency, and that's how they actually appear inside Wix, with the transparency. Now let's animate these cats as well. So it can, let's have it float in, but float in from the left, and let's give it a delay of, again, 0.3 seconds, and the duration seems to be fine. And this one can do the same thing, except it floats in from the right. And what did I give the delay? It was 0.5, wasn't it? Let me just double check that, because I want them to come in at the same time. It's 0.3, so I need to make that 0.3 as well. And if you're noticing, I'm not doing an overkill with the animations. So for example, if I have this one floating in, then I don't go crazy and do something amazing with the other one. I try to keep them kind of like in harmony. and this one can expand in again, and the delay can be 0.6, and again it should only animate it the first time. So now again, I was lazy, so I have this, and this. I'm going to copy these. Oops, what am I doing? And go to slide 2. Make sure I'm clicking on slide 2, and here they are. So this one can move kind of where his mouth is, and this one can come here, and this one can come here. And now we can animate these as well. And what I think I want to do with these is I want to have these two coming from the bottom and this one coming from the top. So it's going to fly in from the top. The delay is going to be 1.5 seconds, and the duration is fine. So let's just preview this to make sure that, okay, seems to be working so far. So this can fly in from the right, again 1.5, sorry, this can fly in from the left, duration 1.2, only animate first time. So the thing that I did on the first slide where they were crossing over as they were flying in, I'm going to do the same thing here. Again 1.5, only animate first time. So let's preview this. Now something I'm noticing, yeah, I need to animate this as well, and what I'm basically just going to do is I'm not going to give it any delay, and it's 1.2 is fine, it's just going to slowly fade in. So let's do this again. And there you have it. So let me just, I guess I do need a very small delay, like maybe 0.3 or something like that. Now let's go back to here, and let's go back to these settings. Now, apply transition effects. Yes, we would like to apply transition effects. However, you only have 2 here right now, but if you check this content, disable content outside of frame, then you get some others, and this one here is actually very nice, this horizontal one. So check that, and now let's give it a preview. And now if I go like so, then we get this and this. And if we narrow this down, which as you know is always an important issue, then it'll just work like this. With that sort of a dark blue thing just flashing there, which I have no idea what that is. But basically, I still have this text up here, down here. So I can just bring this up a bit. So basically, you find your vectors on FreePic or Vecteezy or a vector portal like that. You open it in Photopea, which thankfully opens all the vectors in the world, unlike Photoshop. And then you import them, you separate them, you crop them, then you import them into Wix, and then you put them together. And also, like I said, make sure that you have plenty of color alternatives and also plenty of transparency alternatives, because as you can see, the transparencies actually create really nice effects instead of just solid things. Like, for example, with the cats here. I mean, I don't think that this would look quite as pleasant if these cats were all solid, and besides I wouldn't be able to put them on top of each other and stuff like that. So just keep all of those things in mind, and you should be all set to go, and I'll see you next time.